Your story is truly amazing. Tell us, what has made you want to come on board as Air New Zealand's next designer?
To be completely transparent, I think I've always wanted to do this. It's always been a dream of mine. You know, New Zealand is my home. It's where I'm from. It's where I was born and raised, and it's a real passion project for me. So, so being here to be able to do this and to, you know, dress, you know, New Zealand's airline in Emilia Wickstead is an absolute privilege and honour, and I feel very blessed to be sitting here today.
Excellent. As one of the selection panellists, your passion for the project really came through. Can you tell us a little more about what makes you feel so excited about this piece of work?
I mean, so many things make me feel excited, just being here, being at home. But the biggest thing I think is when I design for anybody, for me, it's about how clothing makes you feel and the confidence it gives you, the prestige it gives you, and just the confidence and how it can impact you so much through design and through what you wear and how it fits you, etc. And so I think what I'm most excited about is, you know, my top priority is the Air New Zealand team, the people, and to think about how it's going to make them feel and how it's going to impact the way that they travel around the world, how they work with different people, how they meet different people, how they stand out in a crowd. For me, that is the most exciting thing. So I can't wait for that, to be perfectly honest. And I feel very proud and honoured to know that they would be wearing Emilia Wickstead. So yeah, pretty excited about that.
Excellent.
I say excited all the time. I really need to stop using that word.
Exciting.
But I'm very excited.
Okay, so designing an airline uniform is actually a really unique task.
Yes.
And there's lots of considerations: form, functionality, comfort, safety, to name a few. What do you see as some of the biggest challenges in designing the airline uniform?
100%. It's such a huge eye-opener. You know, this process has been a very long, but like an incredible learning process, and just understanding all the different needs of when, I guess, you're traveling, when you're up in the air, when you're on the ground, and really listening to the people, so the Air New Zealand teams. I've never designed menswear, so this is going to be a first, which I'm pretty excited about. But I think in terms of challenges, for me, in my heart, it's sort of making sure everyone's happy, everyone feels great, everyone feels empowered by what they're wearing. And I think that's always a challenge because you have so many people. But I think I'm happy to take on the challenge. I think it's going to be great. So yes. Excellent.
So thinking about all of that, talk us through your design process. Where do you start with it all?
Very good question. Always sort of with colour palette, thinking about the fit is really key for me, because I really believe that that's sort of how you can feel confident, and I always say, you know, the look you should be wearing the look, not the look wearing you. So I always start at sort of fit, fabric, colour palette, but always, you know, I started my business as a made-to-measure business many moons ago. We're celebrating 15 years this year. And so when I started as a made-to-measure business, I worked every day in my first store. We started in the living room, but worked every day in my first store for 6 days a week. And it's that sort of very clear understanding of what people want, what women want, because I dress women. And so that's at the forefront of my mind every time I design a collection. So I'd say that's at the very top as well. So it all sort of comes together.
Right. So I know we don't have too much to share about what the new uniform will look like as yet, but with your concepts, what inspired you? What was the inspiration behind those, and how do you bring that to life?
I mean, the key inspiration is New Zealand. It's our heritage. It's my heritage. And, you know, without saying too much, there will be a huge sort of tribute to Māori culture also. There'll be a lot of small details that will be very big details. There'll be a lot of sort of meaning behind smaller details. There will be a print design. I think print is really key, and especially with my learnings of how successful print has been over the years for Air New Zealand. And so there'll be very key messages and a lot of symbolism through the print, which I think is really important to talk about, I think the storytelling element of the uniform is going to be quite special.
And will we see similarities between your brand and the uniform coming through, and how will you bring that to life?
100%. I mean, everything that I do is flies the flag of Emilia Wickstead. So, you know, everything that you're going to see in the uniform, again, I talk a lot about this, but about the fit, about the tailoring, about, you know, simplicity for me is sometimes the hardest thing to achieve. And I'm very much inspired by old world inspirations. So I think that's going to be very apparent, but I'm also very inspired by sort of, let's say, a modern twist. And I think you'll see sort of a juxtaposition of the two really come together with this uniform, but it will be quintessentially always, you know, if my name's on it, that's exactly what you're going to see.
Fabulous. Look forward to that. Having been born and grown up here in Aotearoa and then moving to Europe where you really broke through in the fashion industry, can you tell us a little bit how your upbringing here in New Zealand has actually influenced your brand?
I mean, I think it's such a good question. I think I like to think that everything that I am today is because of how I was born and raised here. And I think that it's sort of, you know, you say you wear your heart on your sleeve, and I think that everything that I do, you know, I think that the resilience that I have in building my business, it's not been easy. It's been a tough ride, and the sort of rolling up my sleeves and that work ethic of just, you know, doing everything that you can. And it all started from a dream here in New Zealand, and I have, you know, taken it abroad. But for me, I don't know if I answered your question, but...
Well, following on from that, maybe could you give us a little more insight into the journey of building the Emilia Wickstead brand, you know, from very humble beginnings and how you've reached where you are today?
Yeah, very humble beginnings, and again, I think it is, I think that it is that resilience and that hard-working work ethic and growing up in, it's a very spiritual place. I feel very proud and honoured to have grown up here, and so I believe that I've taken all of that with me on my journey of building my own brand. I started in my living room. I started with a very small investment from my then boyfriend, now husband, which was from his first job. It was £5,000. And again, it was sort of this sort of almost slightly very naive with what I was doing. I was 23, but also this real integrity to sort of pursue my dream and to thinking that I could do everything myself. And the way that I've built my business also is that I've worked in every single area of my business, so I could do everybody's job. You know, that's how I built it. We started with just myself, then 2 people. We're now at 55 people, and I think that all comes from my very humble, I think, grounded beginnings here. I think I've taken that with me, and it's helped me succeed in the world. I mean, I've still got a long way to go, but you know, it's helped me with my journey.
Excellent to have the support of your husband.
Yes, very, very, very happy to have that. His second job.
Right. Who would you say is your biggest inspiration?
Oh, definitely my mother. My mother, who is obviously a New Zealander, when I was born, she started her own business. So she went to tech, and she learned pattern making and how to sew, and she started her own brand. And I think that's all I've ever known. So as a little girl growing up, it sort of started, I think, when I was a baby, and she'd work downstairs through the night. And then I watched her sort of fulfill her dreams and start her brand and build her business here. And I mean, all I used to do essentially was after school was go and sit after fitting and fill her pin cushions and just sit and watch her like fitting clients. And I guess learning the art and of the trade, and also seeing how resilient she was, and seeing her go through ups and downs and building a business from scratch. And she's still today, you know, is my biggest inspiration. I go to her for all my questions, and she really was a big part in helping me build my business too. So she's definitely my number one.
Such a beautiful story. Seriously, it's so lovely. Could you maybe talk to us about some of your biggest milestones or pinch me moments as you've built your brand?
Well, this is one of them, that's for sure. This is definitely a pinch me moment. And I feel so proud and honoured, and I think for my family and for my children in London, you know, I think this is an absolute pinch me moment. So 100% that. And I think there are so many pinch me moments. So often I get asked this question, and I always say, honestly, I feel so proud of every moment when we dress someone. So it can be someone on the red carpet, and it can be also just someone walking down the street, which is a pinch me moment when you see someone wearing Emilia Wickstead and you're like, oh my gosh, someone's actually wearing it. And I think one of my favorite stories is going into a coat check, and there were like 4 coats that were being picked up, and they were all Emilia Wickstead, and you think, oh my God, yes, I've slightly made it. So I think every moment as a pinch me moment. I think I think I definitely am living in the moment. So often you keep going, and sometimes you forget to acknowledge those pinch me moments. So I think it's really important too. But yeah, every day there's a little pinch me moment, good and bad.
So obviously this is quite a lengthy process to go through, and as we've talked about, there are lots of considerations. What are you looking forward to the most throughout the design process for the new uniform?
I'm looking forward to lots of different things, but if I had to choose one, I would say, again, I'm just looking forward to sort of flying that flag for New Zealand and seeing everyone in their uniforms and seeing how they feel, and I'm hoping that it's going to make them feel extremely proud and honoured to be at Air New Zealand wearing Emilia Wickstead, and that's kind of the dream. That's I think what would feel like my biggest achievement, if I've managed to do that and everyone feels empowered and confident, and that's what I'm most looking forward to, seeing that.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to do some rapid fire questions.
Great.
Ready?
Yes.
Favourite Air New Zealand uniform ever?
Ooh, well, I have a few answers to this question. I know it's supposed to be
that's
rapid,
a hard
but
question.
So my favourite blouse is the Christian Dior blouse that had almost like a little bit of a cravat, and then it had a little pin through it, which I loved. And then the Barbara Lee, I love because my godmother worked for Air New Zealand for 25 years, and so it's very nostalgic for me seeing her in that uniform. I mean, that's what I remember in my childhood. And then the Nina Ricci, I sort of love I love the dress. I loved everything about Nina Ricci as well.
Okay.
So anyway, I had a few favourites in there.
Yeah, not one favourite. Okay, best holiday destination?
New Zealand.
Must-have travel item?
Manuka honey, genuinely, it's like my medicine.
Oh. Aisle or window seat?
Aisle.
Book or movie?
Movie.
Random question.
Yes.
Who gets the armrest if you're in the middle?
Me. At least I tried to.
Fair enough. Okay, one last question.
Yes.
What's the next step? When can we expect to see the designs?
It's a very good question. I think everyone was expecting the unveiling today. So there will be a wearer trial, which we'll commence with, which I believe is sooner rather than later, in about a year's time.
Yep, so we're hoping to have the wearer trials commencing next year, and then we'll progressively roll the uniform out following the conclusion of those and any tweaks we need to make.
Perfect.
Perfect. Fabulous. Well, that brings to a close the questions for today.
Thank you.
As I said, we're absolutely honoured and thrilled to have you as our next uniform partner. Absolutely thrilled with the decision, and I know it's going to be a fantastic journey over the next couple of years. So that draws today's formalities to an end. Please stay around. We've got plenty of food and drinks, and obviously some of you most likely will be wanting to catch up with Emilia. So thank you so much for joining us, very much appreciated, and look forward to chatting with you over the next half hour or so. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to take one?
Lovely. Standing on the floor, please.
Very good question. New Zealand is my home, and for me, this is one of the proudest moments. It's something I've strangely always wanted to do, so I'm pretty excited. I have so many memories. Endless days on the beach. I mean, we never really left New Zealand, and I think from an emotional standpoint too, kind of spiritual side also, the cultural roots are deeply part of me. My mother was a fashion designer, so I would always go to her work after school and sit and watch her doing fitting after fitting, fill her pin cushions. I don't know, there was definitely something in me where I knew that was what I wanted to do. It's ingrained in me. I started in my living room. I had little fashion shows where I'd tell everyone to bring a friend, and then I would call magazines and pretend to be my own assistant. I didn't know anyone, I didn't know what I was doing. I think there was this great naivety, which I thank my lucky stars for. So much should excite you. When I think about what I want the uniform to mean for everybody wearing it, they're going to not only feel great, but they're going to feel so much more than that. They're going to feel confident, they're going to feel proud, and that is what I'm really excited about. Everything that you'll see on the uniform and the symbolism through the uniform. Print design will play a big part. Even design details will have a meaning. Small little details that you might not even recognize immediately will really play on New Zealand heritage. It's inspired more than anything by the people. That's been really, really key to this amazing design process.
Nice to meet you.
And it plays such a huge part in telling our story as a country.
Nice to meet you. I feel like I should hug you now.
We're gonna hug.
Who we are as people, how we want to feel and how we want to look, and how we want to stand out. I'm so proud of my roots and where I'm from, and for me to be able to tell this story, presenting a beautiful, powerful, incredible new uniform. Yeah, I'm very excited.